Morning. Welcome back to the wake up call. It's time for some people to wake up this morning. I hope that you are listening. I hope that you have your pen or pencil and paper, or your phone, that little what's it app in your phone that makes a couple notes, or if you want to take mental notes, now is the time to do so. We're joined this morning by Makini, Barrow, and Moureeze Franklyn. They're both representing Sewell and Kafra. I will, at this point, Sewell confuses me from time to time. My apologies, because I know it as Caribbean Woman in Leadership,
Yeah, it is.
but it's CIWIL.
Yeah, Caribbean woman in leadership.
Oh, okay, it was the same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Oh, okay. Look at me, second guessing myself. And
You're
Kafra is a Caribbean, is it activist?
Association
Caribbean
for
Association,
Feminist
right.
Research and Action.
Where did I get the activist from? I'm just learning about Kafra this morning, and you ladies are representing both entities, along with a lot more.
Yeah. a
But
lot
this
more
morning,
entities, yeah.
and Miss Moureeze Franklyn, she is the lawyer, so she'll be speaking from the perspective of the law. All right, so we're going to be talking about consent as it concerns mainly sexual activity. All right,
Well,
we'll
mainly
branch off to other aspects, but mainly sexual activity. We should start with saying this. If you have a comment or a question for any of our guests this morning, 4301043, that is WhatsApp. 4571043, that is the number to call. Okay? Okay, so let's start off with the definition. When you hear consent, what do you think of? What is consent?
Well, if we want to go from the textbook definition, consent is to give someone a choice about touch or actions and respecting their decisions. It means voluntary agreement by a person in the possession and exercise of sufficient mental capacity to make an intelligent choice to do something proposed by another. So when you keep hearing voluntary,
Right.
so that is the premise of consent. It must be something that is given voluntary. It must not be something taken without giving. So that's the premise of consent.
And the definition does not specify anything to do with sex or sexual activity.
No, at the foundation of the definition, no.
Oh, so then we can include, well, basically it covers, it means respect.
Respect, yes. And the more we chat, we will see how much it means respect as you look at sexual activity, human rights, your space. You will see how respect plays into with the definition and the term of consent. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a term that is said from time to time: my body, my rights. Moureeze. All right, we say that it is something that is voluntary. Not we say, it is something that is voluntary. It's also in the definition you mentioned mental state. Do you want to touch on first or secondly who can give consent and who cannot?
Well, I prefer to basically, I could say that an adult can give consent once they're in the right mental state, meaning that they're not
They're lucid.
so they're not drunk, they don't have a mental disability preventing them from making a correct decision or proper decision based on giving consent. So you can say that, okay, I am drunk and I can give you consent. I cannot give you consent if I'm intoxicated, right? And consent really don't have bloodlines like that. Or if I have a mental illness that prevents me, say for instance, I'm trying to find a mental
I'm
illness.
thinking of elder abuse. So you
Yeah.
have persons with dementia.
Dementia
or
and so
they
forth
might
like that, like elder persons, or you might have someone suffering from, say, some mental illness or that prevents them from making a cognitive decision, especially if they are, what's one, say for instance, I want to give you a good one. I don't want to say
Schizophrenia, no?
schizophrenia, to some extent, Down syndrome. These are all different mental challenged persons that might not be able to make certain decisions, especially based on the age that they are, or based on the way how they are able to formulate information, or how they look at themselves. Because it has some persons who might not be able to say, they might be 20 years old, but their mind is not of a 20-year-old person. So those persons cannot give consent because they're not yet there where they can actually comprehend what their body, what are the rights of the body, if this is okay for me to do, or if they could give somebody reason to interact with their body physically. So we gotta think about the mental capacity of someone and their understanding when you're looking at consent.
So in a case where a person is unable to give consent and their rights are being taken away from them, in essence, that is abuse.
But what rights are we when you talk
As
about
in,
that?
if
Because
you-
if you're looking at it, you could look at children as opposed to adults, right? Because we would like to say that children don't have rights, but they do have rights.
No,
Right?
as in the right to say it, no. So you're not able to give consent to something.
Right. And yes, so for instance, children, they don't have the right to give consent to sexual activity. And so that is abuse. That's sexual abuse or sexual assault or rape. So in that case, yeah.
Okay. So somebody asked, one of the first questions that came in here, can the lawyer, as we're talking about who can and cannot give consent, can the lawyer please state the age of consent in this country?
Okay, so currently we have our age of consent at 15,
Yeah.
and I mean,
Yeah.
that's just where we are.
15.
15 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 15 and under, or is it under
No, 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 no,
15?
no.
15 and
Please,
over.
over.
Sorry. Yes. That's what I mean. 15 and over.
But, yeah.
Yes. So I'm looking.
15. And you can't get a national ID card until you're 18. You can't vote until you're 18. You can't drive until
Well.
you're 16 and a half. You
Yes.
cannot.
But we also have to consider, especially when we look at our schools currently, if we were to, for example, consider, okay, you can't get a national ID card, so we're gonna look at the age of 18 as perhaps acceptable. We have to think about, okay, what about close in age offenses? You know, you have a 17-year-old, an 18-year-old. They might still be in the secondary school system. You never
Yeah.
know. They might be in a relationship with a 15-year-old. And then are we going to then criminalize that person?
Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to consent and the law, there there are many things you have to take into consideration when you're deciding how you're going to trial somebody, especially if there is a close age, especially like what Moureeze just stated, if the person's 16, 17, there's a little bit of bloodline there.
Oh boy, this is very, very tricky. Now, let us go on to what consent is versus what it is not.
Okay.
In terms of are we going to be specific to sexual activity here, or
We're looking
no?
at
Okay.
boundaries.
Because you can't jump to sexual activity if people don't understand at the core what is consent.
Okay.
Yes.
So, it's basically a clear affirmation of words and actions. So it's a mutual understanding on the permission. So, and it's voluntary, and it's given for each, when it comes to sex, it's given for each sexual act during an encounter between two persons or more. And what it is not silent, it is not passive, it is not a lack of resistance, and is not given while unconscious or incapacitated, and it's not transferable. So you need consent every time,
Yes.
especially during a sexual
So during
contact.
our workshops, for example,
Yeah.
we try to encourage small check-ins, and we say that it's not a shameful thing. You can say, okay, well, I'm currently at first base, I want to go to second, should I ask first? Yes, you can. There's no shame in asking.
And
There's
then-
shame in waking up the next
The
morning
next
and
morning and
realizing
figuring
that,
out,
oh
like,
my God, I'm a criminal.
Yeah, and then there, I hear a lot of times when we do these workshops, people be like, but it kind of kills the vibe and whatever. It don't. If you there are many ways of saying yes.
Uh-huh.
You understand? And there are many ways of saying no. So maybe no. That's something. That's a
Okay,
clear no.
Let's How do you say no?
If you
No,
hear, so if you're
right?
going, if it's sexual and then you're, in your intimacy, and the person said, I don't feel like this right now. I really don't think we should go there. Maybe, I don't feel comfortable. All those are no's. Because the person is clearly saying there is some reservation
Or
towards having sex.
even if you agree at the outset and I say, okay, let's have sex with a condom,
Yeah.
and then you proceed halfway through to take it off, I didn't consent to that.
And that's stealthing. That's what we call that stealthing. Stealthing refers to the act of deliberately removing a condom during sex without your partner's knowledge or consent. That's stealthing.
That's an offense.
Yes. Yes.
Could I ask you
Not
how-
specifically within our criminal code, but if you were to look at the circumstances and say, I consented to sex, but I didn't consent to sex without a condom, then at that stage, for me, I'm saying for me, it becomes rape. But it might be a little difficult to prove.
because that was going to be my next
Yeah.
question. How do you go to the police and say, well, I consented to sexual intercourse, but in between the means of contraceptive changed up without me knowing or giving consent to that?
So that's why this education is so important,
yeah.
because it's important for both parties to understand what they're entering into and to have an equal power in the equation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because for me, if that is an experience of mine, better sure that I ain't get pregnant. One.
Yeah.
And two, I don't gain an STD because we could track it from there. So if I go to the police and tell them that that I consented to have sex with this guy, but halfway through it I realized that the guy took off his condom. And that's an offense to me. That's disrespecting my human right, because I did not give you that right to have sex with me without condom. I can therefore, once I could prove that this guy did take off the condom.
And even if you look at the definition of rape within our criminal code, there is an element where they say at the time he knew that she did not consent to the intercourse, or he was reckless as to whether she consented or not. So it's not just knowing that she didn't consent. Maybe you were reckless. Maybe you thought, oh, she already consented to the sex, so why not? Let me just get comfortable.
Yeah. And there's a lot of women and young girls go around with that trauma where they had to live with the results from a man assaulting them, because they did not give that consent, but it happened. But the law didn't give them any redress to dealing with the fallout from that situation. And as we talked about poverty, that could increase poverty in certain areas where you understand someone, they might know it's wrong, but they're still having sex, or they're having sex, but their situation is not the best.
Even in terms of when you look at, okay, so the outcome of the situation is I'm pregnant. What do I do now? Is the law protecting me now? Can I now go to my doctor and ask for a termination? No, I
Can
can't.
afford a term if that is
It's not legal.
and
You
it's
can't
not
go
legal, yeah.
and ask for it.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah. And sometimes, as I always tell people, you don't look down at persons who you see might have 3 children and they live in a poverty, within an area that, poverty is strong. Because you never know. Sometimes we see cases where women, had 1-2 kids with a certain guy, and the situation didn't work out and there was some fallout from that. And they seek refuge in another man. But they explain to the guy that they don't want to get pregnant because they're just trying to build back themselves, and they have 2 kids, and the guy is offering some kind of economic support. And the guy stealth them. So the guy pull off the condom because he want to enjoy the moment. Not
Or
necessarily
he wants a child of his own. He's
He
not
wants a child.
comfortable taking care
Yeah.
of what
And
he would
then-
term as somebody else's
child.
children.
Yeah, and then you see the woman gets pregnant, and then the relationship don't work out, and then she's now in a situation where she have 3 kids to mind, and she's back to square one in a situation where she cannot take care of
And she has to go to family
and
court.
three kids, she has to go to family court. And the thing about family court is that it's if the man is working. If the
But
man not
family
working,
court doesn't,
where you gonna get this money from the guy?
But how much money do they tell you to pay?
Well,
at the
it
end
would
of the day?
depend on your circumstances
$150.
as well as the circumstances
Circumstances,
of
yeah.
the
And
child.
the circumstances of the child, your financial situation, and the
But
guy's financial
that's
situation.
also why, again, the law is so important, because here we don't recognize common law relationships in that way. So whereas when I'm doing a divorce, I can say, okay, you know what, as the attorneys, we're going to sit down, we're going to look at your income, we're going to figure out how much money you're going to be paying in child support moving forward. When you're unmarried, you don't have that sort of shield. You're going to the family court to the magistrate's court. They can only do so much.
Yeah.
And all of this is coming from one simple word: consent.
And then you find yourself at the Ministry of National Mobilization asking for help, which we do. We have many programs that help women who face this situation. Even help men who face the situation, because it's not just one way. We have programs that help both men and women in these situations. Right?
But again, in terms of the law, we're not looking at buggery as rape. So
Right.
there's no help for you there.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody has a question. You mentioned being intoxicated. How intoxicated? What is the cutoff point? They were asking about breathalyzers. How do you assess intoxication?
it's
Because
about-
everybody, your body is different than my
Yeah.
body. So I probably could drink like 4 Johnny Walker and coconut water and I'd be nice, But
Yeah.
I'm not intoxicated that I cannot make.
Not incapacitated.
Incapacitated. But she might drink the same 4 and she ain't know herself. That is a problem.
So if two parties are involved, one is intoxicated and the other is not, how does the person who is not intoxicated know that that person is still in the okay frame of mind, even though they're a little
Well,
happy?
that's where the check-ins come in.
Yeah.
Is
Gotta
this
check
okay?
in.
And then you would look for verbal confirmation at that point, because you don't know if the physical confirmation is reliable. Maybe
How
Might
you
not be
feel?
reliable.
How do you feel
But then
right now?
should we go on physical confirmation?
I think it should be a combination of both. So you have to ask questions. How do you feel? You're okay? Look at how the person answers the question. Is their words slurring? Is their posture okay? Do they
Or-
seem at the same as when they started?
During the workshop, I would say things like, you have to think about yourself first. So if it is that you're saying, this is a sketch, this is a risky situation,
Yeah.
maybe, you know
Refrain.
what, tonight I'm gonna help myself and I will leave you be, and tomorrow we'll revisit this, and if you're still willing,
Yeah.
tomorrow, save.
And I think sometimes we forget, one thing if I'm not there with someone, I usually try to be open before, especially if we're going out for drinks. I would say I am not there, I don't want to have sex, even though we had drinks and what's not, I ain't about that, I ain't about that life. I just use this word. I ain't about that life. Let's keep it. Drinks, have fun, go back home. Because I personally try, as an adult, back then you make some mistakes, but as an adult who have learned and be in the environment of understanding, I realize that it's best to say no and not have sex during that situation, rather than doing that and then you cannot remember what happened the night before, but your body don't feel right. And it's the worst thing to wake up in the morning and not know if you had sex or you didn't have sex. It's the most toxic feeling ever. Because you don't know if somebody violated your body or if you just had fun and the person respected you, so you don't know how to look at the person after. So I always try to, this person you see in front of me tries to make that decision that, no, we're not having sex. And I want to remember if I had good sex, I want to remember it in the morning. So that also, plays into the whole situation.
Boundaries, personal boundaries,
Yes.
making
Yeah.
sure that other people maintain or do not disrespect your boundaries. Hello, good morning. If you want to call us 4571043, sorry for missing that one there. I want to go over. Permit me to go back a little bit, right? some people are of the belief that body says one thing, the person says something else.
I
Right? You said it as a combination, but you might be feeling, a little, but you are saying no.
No.
But the other party decides to choose what the body says.
But that's
Yes,
why
so
a lot of
you're
people get in
choosing what the
trouble
body
with
says,
that.
and then when my mind says no, and I wake up in the morning and I've remembered that my mind said no, and we end up at the police station, then
You
we
in
think
trouble.
about exactly. So
And I
that's why
alwa-
I always tell people to choose themselves. Think
Yeah.
about you. Do you want to be in jail next year,
Yeah.
or do you want to, just have some self control just for one night, just to say, I'm gonna look out for me. I don't know about you. You don't seem like you know what you're doing. I'll catch you
Right.
tomorrow.
Yeah, because sometimes we look at, I can't help what my body do. So if I in a situation with someone and my body is reacting, this is a chemical reaction. I can't really help that. But
Or
I am
even-
telling you, no. I
Even
do
when
not
we look at
want to have
men.
sex.
Men and their response might be involuntary.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not contained within the law currently, but you have an involuntary response and she jumps on you. What are you gonna be comfortable with that?
No.
Knowing that that's what happened?
And then you can say no. I think a lot of times, we hear, oh, but her body or his body said they want yes, but or you're in a situation and the man as a woman, I'm in a situation and a man saying, but look at it's showing that your body's saying that you want to have sex. And, perfect example, 50 Shades of Grey. I always use this example where the lady body said yes when Christian was telling the woman, look at how you're moving, look at your body, you want to have sex. But she said no, and she left. She did not have sex because she, in her mind, even though her body was reacting towards somebody who she was attracted to or had sex with, she did not want to have sex that time, and she said no, and she left. And these are the things that we need to know as our right. Even though our body is reacting to somebody, whether we had sex with them before or we are attracted to them, if we choose not to have sex, you should respect the fact that, yes, we are attracted to you, but at this moment, man or woman, we do not want to have sex, and that is all right.
Consent within a marriage.
Oh,
Hi,
Within
hello.
the
No.
marriage.
No.
it's the same.
Husband and wife.
Same.
Is it,
Same.
it's the
It's
same.
Same.
Why is it the same?
Is your body not yours? That's what we
Exactly.
opened with. Exactly. My body is still my body.
My body, my
I
rights.
haven't sold myself to you. We didn't exchange any dowry or any of that nonsense. We
We
are
signed a legal
currently in
document.
the year 2022, and your body still belongs to
To
you.
you. Yep.
The legal
Same
document
thing.
is just to say that you were married.
It's to say
Yeah.
that you're married and that your assets, your financial assets,
Not your physical.
Oh.
assets.
not
Okay.
your personal
Personal.
selves
Yeah.
have
Okay.
been exchanged.
And that's why,
So marriage is
know-
just a financial thing. Okay.
No,
No.
no,
Small
no.
scene,
I don't
small
scene.
think
Legal- legal-
I thought it was a
taking
union.
off.
I thought it
No.
was a union for both of
Okay,
us.
think
It's a
about
union,
it this
but,
way.
okay, you
Think
have to
about
think
it
about
this way.
yourself also.
You've purchased your, I want to say cat. Yeah, so you bought a cat and you decided that you want affection from that cat. And we know how cats are. They're not, if they don't want it, they don't want it. Are you then going to
Squeeze
grab
cat.
the cat and squeeze it and sit on my lap?
No, I'll buy another one.
Okay, and you are free to do so. You're free to
Exactly.
get a divorce. You're free to go and do what you need to do. Do what you need to do, but you can't grab your wife. And, well, we got
Oh, no,
married.
I
and
don't mean
you're
it's
mine
like that.
now.
But
That's
that's what
the-
But that's what
what
people-
we're talking about
Okay.
in
Yeah.
terms of consent, because
Right.
that's why I'm so glad about the the criminal law, especially now with marriage, that a husband can be charged for raping his wife. Because if I'm married, I'm your spouse, I'm married to you, and I said no, I don't feel like having sex tonight for whatever reason, and you take it involuntary, you rape me, you take that sex, I could carry it to the court. I could go to the police station and report it. I could go to gender affairs and I could report it.
Do you think that our society will accept something like that? Like hearing something like that on the news, a person was charged for
I
raping
think
his wife
we're
or
still some
a
way
husband.
from accepting that collectively.
Yeah.
But I still think people need to understand boundaries, personal space. What you don't want for yourself, you shouldn't want for others.
Yeah.
And it's a marriage.
It's very simple because I usually say people in service walk around with so much hidden trauma because they experience these things whether in a marriage or in a normal relationship or just a one night situation, but because of fear and not knowing their boundaries, not knowing the law, not knowing their rights,
Not knowing your self worth.
not knowing
You're
your
worth
self
more than that.
exactly, that you keep silent. But these things manifest in different aspects of your life. So you want to know why you can't trust a guy. You want to know why are you so overprotective for your kids. Why you react so violently to your coworker, especially if they might touch you a certain way or speak to you a certain way.
All right, we're going to
Hidden
take a
trauma.
call. All right, sorry. Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hello, good.
Good morning.
I did not get the program from the beginning, but it sounds rather interesting at this hour of the morning, talking about sex and all of that stuff. Who are these experts? Or who are these young people? Who are they? Is this a particular group?
Makini and Moureeze, independent
That's fine.
ladies, but they're representing two different organizations this morning.
Okay,
Seawell and
so
Kafra.
anyhow, I was just about to say how you guys will respond to a man, husband especially, being charged for raping his wife. And
We
then
just
I heard
touched on that one.
I heard somebody mention at the same time.
Oh, okay.
But I want to put a counter to that. I've had my experiences with women too. Yes, I don't think the woman could be charged for rape. But when a woman wants sex and the man refuses to have sex, what do you say about that?
Yes,
Because
and we mentioned that earlier, and I said that should count as rape as well because your
All right,
your body's
okay.
response, you might
I'm
not
with
want
you.
it.
Yeah. So it should be counted as rape, but our law govern it
Talked
as
about
rape.
penetration.
Yeah, the law
The man has
says
the
penal
man has something to
penetration.
penetrate. The woman doesn't have anything.
Exactly.
Exactly. So
But I know that women can be very hostile, and when they
Yes.
start
So,
pushing you and telling you, oh, you're seeing somebody else, or you have other women out there, blah,
well,
blah, blah, and so on.
hopefully we'll get some legislative change soon, and that will
yeah,
address
we
that.
are right now in the process. The government is right now in the process. Looking at how can we reform the sexual offences law. So we are getting there
Slowly but surely.
Yeah, but I
slowly but
wanted to know,
surely.
I am not aware. Are you aware if it's obtained in other countries, anywhere around the region and so on? Or St. Vincent's going to set the...
No. I think some of the other countries have updated provisions.
Some countries, I think Trinidad, to some extent, updated their sexual. It's more comprehensive, I would say that much. So some other Caribbean countries have updated and even at the foundation
Added.
have more comprehensive sexual offences law.
I know Jamaica has a sexual harassment
Yes,
law,
they do.
2020.
All right,
That's
keep on, I'm listening. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so we were talking about marriage and we moved on to where some of these things stem from. We were talking about why is it that women or people are afraid to say no? Is it that they didn't have the correct upbringing, or is it that some people are just so powerful, intimidating that
It's numerous reasons. Upbringing could be one, and I think we will dive more into that a little bit later on when we get into the part of children. So
Right.
upbringing could be one, but it could be also numerous things. Like sometimes as individuals, as I said, that if you don't know, you don't know.
Or if we look at it within the context of the workplace, it
Yeah.
might be a power imbalance. Your superior is making advances and he's the acceptance of the advances is tied to your
promotion,
your
or
promotion,
your environment.
what do you do?
Yeah. There are many things, and I talk to my male colleagues about this, even though we argue about it. Every time a woman leaves her house, her home, she has to calculate so many different things. And I'm not saying that men don't think about things before they leave in terms of protection and safety, but it's basically triple when it comes to a woman.
What time is it?
What time is it?
What do
How
I
am
have?
going there? How am I reaching back? Is the place safe enough?
Is the driver safe?
If the driver safe, can I make it? Do I need a friend to go with me? And
Who are the other
clothing
guests?
shouldn't be a question, how I dress, but society. So I have to think about, if I wear this, would I be safe? If I wear this, can I deal with what's gonna come if something comes at me? All these different things women have to deal with when they leave in the house. So imagine growing up, and these are things that our parents tell us as children. Watch what you wear. I ain't sending you unless I know who carrying you and who bringing you back. All these different things are told to women and to girls as they grow up. So we internalize all these fears. So when we become adults and now we have to make the decision to leave the house, we subconsciously think about all these different things before we even leave the house. So these are traumas that we deal with, and we have to, unpack these traumas. But these are things
Unlearn
that
some of those things.
right. But these are the
Some
things
of
that
them.
protects us at the end of the
Okay.
day. These are our protective mechanism as women.
Because we haven't learned to teach our young men more about,
Acceptance,
Respect.
and respect.
or accepting rejection.
Yeah.
For example, if you're getting catcalled on the street and you happen to not respond positively, then you
I've
get
seen
the
that
other
from
end
time
of
to
the
time.
Yeah,
stick.
because sometimes, they had this case, not in St. Vincent, but they had a case where a woman decided she was walking, I think she used to walk her dog or something in a sunny area. And a guy would always say hi, and she would say hi. She was being normal, hi and whatnot. So one time the guy, she stopped and she had a small conversation with the guy. And the guy took that conversation, normal conversation, hi, how are you doing? How your dog doing? Whatever. And that guy took that conversation as an entry into feeling that she is attracted to him. And he followed her home. You understand? So, and attempted to, and it didn't work out in his favor. But what I'm saying is that this is the reason why I just tell young people that if you don't want to say hi to a man, if you don't want to respond to a man seeping you, or, that's that's on you. You can't do that. That's
Yeah.
your choice.
But then we
men
also have to
sometimes
look at how
don't-
we socialize our young men.
Our young men, because sometimes we don't socialize our young
Is
men
it
to
that they
accept
think
rejection, as Moureeze
This
said.
behavior is normal. For example, I've met men and they tell me, "Oh, I know your routine. I know where you
Yeah.
walk." I'm like, "Hello, hello." No, no, no,
Excuse
no, no.
me?
Or
Um,
you feel you better than people. They will out you.
Some of them are just very insecure,
Yeah.
and they try to instill fear in you just because they feel that you will be intimidated by what they see. I feel as though some women refuse to say no out of fear because they have seen what other men have done to women who say no.
Yes.
If I say no, let me go into survival mode right now. If I say
Exactly.
no, then this might happen. So let me just play along or say yes. There are some times when, even when a woman says no, it's a simple question the men are asking. And some men would try to justify why the woman should say yes.
Yes.
And it's not specific to
No.
any sexual activity,
It's
but
just
a simple
so
question. Would you like a drink? Right?
Yeah.
But you could take the drink from me. I'm a good person. I'm
Yeah.
this and that. I'm Tara. And then calling somebody else. You know me. I'm like, I don't want it. No, thank you. Goodbye. It's
So simple.
And that's something that happens to a lot, especially simple thing as drink. You go to an event and a guy feels, okay, I buy you a drink, so I have consent
But then
to
we
stay next to you and
For the rest
of the night.
for the next
Get
day.
your dance.
You owe me a
Because
why you
wine
don't
or
take
you owe
nothing?
me
Yeah.
something.
We've
I-
also socialized our
Yeah.
young men to think, okay, you know what? Once I can provide, then I'm in a good position, so why won't she accept my drink? I can buy a drink. I'm showing her that I
And
can.
cuss out the woman too.
Exactly.
You always have to be
You
so
know?
careful with your life, yes.
I have this thing when I go to events that I know a lot of people hate it about me, but I dance by myself. I do it all the time.
I'm sorry for laughing, but it just made me I think back to I don't want to say period in my life when I like that. And sometimes you want to go out because you want to enjoy your
Yourself.
own company. And maybe this is straying a little bit from consent. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I'm not too
No,
sure.
it's
You guys
not.
would tell me.
No.
It's not.
But sometimes you would be in a place as a form of recreation, and men would feel entitled to come. Oh, she's alone, so she's lonely. So let me go and talk to her.
I know she's single, so she ain't had no man out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So and sometimes
a
they
man
would
just
ask.
being nice. You know?
No, sometimes they would ask you,
Man
right?
just being nice. A
They
man
would
just
ask
see
you.
they offer you a drink. Sometimes.
Could I keep your company? And you would say no. And then they would be like, but you're alone.
Uh-huh.
Why I can't just, and they would just come on.
Man,
Come on.
just-
I said
man-
no.
Or,
I mean,
no, better yet.
wait. Sometimes
Sorry?
you guys read a bit too far into some of these things. I'm just saying.
How
But
can
then
we read a
you
bit
write
too
up the
far
woman
into
and
it?
say, no,
We're
though.
all not that bad. Sometimes you see someone there, you
But we
offer them a
never know
drink.
who is.
Right.
the
That's what I'm
thing,
saying,
and
because
that's the thing that puts in
your mind has been conditioned, as you said, from
Whose
what
fault
your
is that?
parents, what you've been taught at home, in terms of you make sure you don't dress away. Or
What
don't do
you've
this.
been taught at home and what you read in the media and what you see, the
See
behavior.
happening
I'm not,
here.
I'm not justifying that there's
No.
not an issue.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
But
But
you're
I'm saying
saying-
sometimes not all guys who approach ladies want something.
And that's
Yeah.
That's
true.
not the outcome.
Well,
And the fact, wait.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just that I feel like we're all labeled in that sense, and we get a lot of licks.
You are, and it is an
Yes, we get a lot of
unfortunate.
licks. Sometimes
side
It's
we're
not
nice.
fair, but it's not
But
fair. But
it's-
you also have to be a little bit compassionate and understanding to know what women have been going
And
through
you
from
guys
time
just mentioned
immemorial.
something there. Guys have to, because we already battling. It's like guys are affected by that too, Like, because we know there's a stigma there
And that's
around
why
us.
I encourage the young men in my workshops. Speak to your
Oh, so
friend. Tell your friend
Yeah.
this is not normal behavior.
Don't just sit
so
on
that
the
we
block
don't
and
have
hear
to
a man
look at
saying
all
something.
men that way.
Yeah. Because sometimes, we sit down on the block, we in our groups, and we hear our friends speak about situations like this, and we laugh. We know it wrong, but we laugh. We don't speak up and say, Virgin,
Sometimes
brother,
guys
or,
do that.
Something.
Guys do that.
I have been in situations where I've seen men say nothing, or when I come or you're my friend, but I'm gonna tell you that's wrong, and I get licked for that because I might be the only female there, or I might be the only female that's willing to say, you're my friend, you're my colleague, but you're wrong. This is not right.
Right. I had a situation like that where I went and I told one of my friends, yo, what you're talking about the lady is not right. And then they go through the talk and say, boy, you soft, you and a gallus and what's not. But then I think like we usually get boxed in because of all that is thrown at us. So sometimes you just let things slide, which is not saying that it's right. But sometimes I just feel like you ladies,
But how
I
do
mean,
we?
I feel like ladies usually just put guys on this thing like, oh, y'all are, well, the famous thing y'all say, all men are dogs.
But
let me
let's
ask-
not get too
keep-
carried
Okay,
away.
but let me
Okay,
ask
let
you
me
a question, bringing it back to consent, right? Let me bring
Yes.
it back to consent for you, right? How do we women know who is the different one? Who should we give consent to? We don't know, and that's the issue because one thing we deal with at the ministry that I work at, mobilization, is when we're talking about abuse and when we talk about consent is that you and me dating, right? But I don't know, you might be a possible person who, is an abuser, right?
Exactly.
But you have small things that you try out with your women to see if you can manipulate them.
testing the boundaries.
Testing the boundaries. So one of the things that you might do is that you might try to play fight. You try to play fight with me, see my reaction, or you might call me in a joking way by some kind of vulgar word, and you
Or
laugh
drop an
it off,
insult and say, "Oh, I'm only joking."
and you do it incrementally in our relationship, and then after, when I am so stupid in love, I'm so in love, then you come out you show your true colors, but I'm already manipulated, I'm already trapped. that I feel like I'm so caught up by who you were to me. Who was this person? This is a different person.
This
and
is
I
a
can't
mistake.
move. It's a mistake. This cannot be, but we know at the end of it, I'm not giving you consent to beat me.
Makini, microphone. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not giving you consent to hit me. But I am so messed up because I allowed you to play fight. And I'm not realizing if this is you're angry or if you're doing it in fun. So I can't determine because I feel it's bloodlines until I really sit down and say, no, this is.
It's all
he
about
was being
setting
real
boundaries.
angry.
So here's the thing, right?
Morning, Sam.
Hey, morning.
Morning. He was in the background there, but he felt like he needed to say
After
something.
jumping, right?
All right.
So,
After this, we're going to take a break, huh?
Yeah,
All
man.
No
right.
problem.
So here's the thing: we're having this here is important because we have to define what is consent. Because on one hand, like ladies are accustomed to having their consent breached, while men aren't even aware of what is consent, and we also have our consent breached and we don't even internalize it
Yes.
because it's the power dynamic. Because Crash might go down the road, a woman might sleep on him, hit on him. He not going to study that because he doesn't feel threatened. So the nuanced conversation is,
Trust.
what about men makes us threatening? And the thing is, we are threatening by virtue of our gender, like our physique. Like it's not something you're fully aware of. So like you look at it as a loaded gun, but if I know you since I'm 5, I play with you since I'm 5. Puberty kicking, I taller than you. I'm not thinking I'm much bigger than you. But then you know that I am, and you treat me that way. And so it has to be that kind of re-socialization because, like, I remember when I was at university, I seen girls like straining, carrying load. I was like, you want some help? You know me from hall. You know me. Nah, I'm not good. I see the back bus. I was like, well, that is you. You understand? Because I trying to help you, but you're afraid. You understand?
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of conversation of re-socialization because we don't know the level of trauma as was pointed before.
Right.
So we have to kind of re-educate ourselves.
Yeah.
And until you really have that, like, guys going to be kind of like, I just trying to give you a drink. I trying to be nice. But I'm saying that I don't know, you don't know if we are having these other sinister intentions. And so that's where, like, that kind of conversation has to occur.
Yeah, and that's why
Right.
we're gonna talk about,
Children.
talk about children when we come back. How
When we
do
come back,
how
wow.
do we adjust this situation? Yeah.
Wow, this is really something. I hope that you're paying attention. You know what is interesting, though? I'm very sorry this is really long, but it's just interesting to hear it from a guy's perspective. The guys don't really talk about how they feel about it. It's just us
Yeah.
over here
Yeah.
on the
No, they do.
microphone.
That
They do, but
you
how
know,
often?
I make
That's-
sure
that's
that
some
my
lash
workshop
workshop
very
is
often. We
delivered
lash them
only
all the
by
time about it.
male. I make sure that only
Yeah.
males deliver my workshop
Yeah.
because I don't want to come off as another woman preaching at me.
Right.
I
You know,
want men.
we usually make sure men is wrong to give that point of view. It's
I think that's important too, because I always say you cannot be for female empowerment and just leave the men behind.
You know, men as our partners.
All right, all right. When we come back, it's been quite a lengthy first session. 25 minutes on to 10 o'clock, which means when we come back, we only have about 10 or 15 minutes or so to deal with children and consent. Quite an interesting conversation here on Extreme 104.3 FM.
Hey, you!